And we're live. Hey, everybody, it's Mike, and you're watching the Real Black Talking Black podcast with Charles Woods. And I just wanted to welcome everybody into the room. I hope you're having a great day, evening, dinner time, lunchtime, wherever you are on the planet. Welcome to the Real Black Talking Black podcast. We've got a great hour for us to discuss what we talked about last week, which was the Black Man's Kryptonite. It's by far our most successful live stream ever. With I'm going to bring Charles in. He knows the numbers. Welcome, Charles. How's it going, man? We're
Hey,
having
Mike,
some
and
internet issues. Hey,
welcome
yeah,
to
no, I
Real
was saying
Black Family,
this
Peace and Blessings.
peace and blessings. I was saying to everybody, thank you for everybody who tuned in last week because you helped make it our most successful live stream and mini lecture ever. Off the bat, it's gotten what, close to 70,000 views in 1 week. Is that the right math, Charles?
Maybe 60 collectively, because it's been shown in different formats. It's been fragmented, but collectively, the same podcast has gotten close to 60,000 views, and much
So we have to
appreciation to the
thank you
Real
guys.
Black family for that.
Amen. We have to thank you all for that. Shout out to Cosmo Energy, who is our moderator. We'll be taking your questions and comments. The link to join the conversation is in the description, but I will also put it in the comment chat. So if anything, we're going to talk about R. Kelly first. So that's the big news. Cover of the Philadelphia Tribune. R. Kelly, jury finds R. Kelly guilty of sex trafficking. 9 counts. He could be spending the rest of his life in jail. He violated the Mann Act, which same thing they got Jack Johnson on, but he's also accused of having basically a sex trafficking ring where he was luring young women into his lair, abusing them on videotape, and basically making them his sex slaves. So it's something that was always rumored and talked about in the community, in the Black community at least, for decades. And now the legal system's caught up to R. Kelly. And it raises once again the question, Charles, when it happened when Bill Cosby was convicted, and I have no opinion either way at this point. The man went on trial. He had more money than God, and they found him guilty. So the Pied Piper has to pay the piper, so to speak. The Pied Piper of R&B has got to pay the piper. He's going to do some jail time. He's already been in jail already. But it raises the question, is it important to separate the art from the artist? Is it important for our survival as Black people, especially because we have so few heroes, it seems, and we put so much stock into our entertainers and athletes? Do we have to separate their private actions from their public acts? What's your feeling about that, Charles?
Um, I want to be clear, when you say the private actions, are you
Like the
referring to
Michael
their
Vick,
sexual actions?
it could be sexual, it could be personal hygiene habits. I mean, we've seen this before in the case of, we've seen a lot of Black entertainers and athletes get caught up in the judicial legal system, from Michael Vick to Bill Cosby to now R. Kelly. And there's always this outcry to want to protect them, no matter what the accusations are, no matter how many people have come out, no matter what the evidence was. We still want to hold them near and dear to our hearts. And what made me think of this angle to discuss it was a couple days ago when the verdict came out. One thing, the clip that we have on the channel of the Boondocks R. Kelly verdict came out, and people watching it again, they were saying, like, wow, the Boondocks were on top of it, 10, 15 years ago when that animation came out. and they were talking about R. Kelly, and then people are going back and revisiting the Dave Chappelle skit and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, a lot of people are like, how could we have been so blind? But and also a lot of people are still defending R. Kelly in the sense that they want to play his music. It's almost impossible. I mean, summer's basically over, but it's gonna be hard to go to a cookout and not hear certain R. Kelly records. So um, do we defend him? Can we separate the art from the artist? That's the question.
Well, what happens is you can't make a total separation. There is an attempt to make a separation. It's for defensive reasons, because what people don't want is that the person who commits a sinful is that the group that individual is a part of, the other members of the group don't want to be diminished or looked on negatively because of the act of that individual, particularly if it's a famous individual, because we make heroes of these people. They become iconic. And in that celebrity, oftentimes what we do, and this is really subconscious, is we have this sense of making gods of them, And so what happens is when your so-called idols and your gods, when they have feet of clay, we find it difficult to accept it. So in that difficulty to accept it, we start making excuses. Oh, it's a conspiracy. It's not true. They're always after the black this. They're after the black woman that. These are defensive consequences. These are attempts at finding a way to protect our own self-esteem, which we tie in with a lot of these celebrities. Case in point, a lot of blacks want to bring up the fact that our presidents, our earliest presidents, the forefathers of this country, they were slave owners. Same question comes up. Well, do we dismiss the greatness of George Washington because he was a slave owner? Do we dismiss the greatness of Thomas Jefferson because he was a slave owner? For a long time, the descendants of Thomas Jefferson, they wanted to deny that Sally Hemings was his child, or that not his, but his mistress. So it's a defense thing.
Yeah. So I mean, where are you on the fence? Are you still watching I Spies? Are you still listening to I Believe I Can Fly, or even to flip the coin over to Woody Allen? I mean, after those accusations, can you watch a Woody Allen film without some form of bias or sense of self that comes with knowing more about the artist than was previously known?
What is interesting about what you just asked me,
Mm-hmm.
it relates, it's a tangential uh, connection, a nexus to the topic that is that precedes what we're talking about now. This podcast is a response to our last podcast, which was on seeing the white woman as kryptonite. Many people feel that involving yourself with someone who belongs to the other race, a race that has subjected the black man to so many ills abuses, brutality. Just getting involved with someone, a white man or a white woman, is an insult to the legacy of what white men and white women, how they've caused deaths, the destruction of blacks. There's that legacy. You follow what I'm saying?
Right. Well, we're definitely going to get into
So,
the main topic for sure. But you're
so,
dodging the question. When the cookout comes on, you're
so
going to be
just to
stepping.
conclude, no, so in conclusion, what I'm going to say is
Okay.
it makes it difficult to listen to the genius or to view the genius of these people. OJ, what he did on the football field. Bill Cosby, what he did on TV, how he was as a comedian. Now, R. Kelly, with respect to his music, it makes it more difficult now. This industry in a public way. You have to do it now in a private way, because to do it publicly, it's almost like you're saying, I don't care about what they did to whoever were the victims. The victims will take offense to you looking at this stuff, and they'll say that's an insult to what he's done to women like me.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Well, without
that's an
question.
insult to what he's done to look like me.
Without question, we're trying to get a Tarana Burke interview on the channel. I mean, you can't look at the R. Kelly situation without looking at the shift in energy in terms of the Me Too movement. R. Kelly had these accusations for, like I said, decades, and it wasn't until the documentary Surviving R. Kelly that the general public became aware of how monstrous the accusations were and how he continued this behavior for on and on and on and on. So I mean, do you have a feeling? Is this a sign of the
In
times as
many ways,
well?
well, in many ways, a lot of them, a lot of people feel that they're being attacked because of their celebrity, but oftentimes they get away with it because of their celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
You
The
follow?
money and the
Because
power.
some people, yeah, and so for a long time, I mean, he continued to do what he was doing because he had a sense of impunity that he could do it. He could get away with it.
I agree. Well, we're going to move on to this topic. We do have some comments that will come through on the screen, but remember, you can, in the second half of the show, after Charles makes his presentation. And Charles, I want you to check your Wi-Fi connection again. I feel like your Wi-Fi is still on because it's still pixelating and freezing. But remember, you can join us on live on cam by using the StreamYard link and entering our studio. But first we want to next we want to get in. Thank you for that, Charles. Thanks for your insight on the R. Kelly verdict. So the next topic of discussion is I guess it's not really rebuttal, but we're going to reflect on the comments that came in after the last live stream on the Black Kryptonite. So just for those who didn't get a chance to see it yet, I just want to play for you guys the trailer as we reset the room. And in the meantime, if Charles, you can check your Wi-Fi connection to make sure that it's off, and hopefully we'll come back with a stronger signal. So without further ado, whoops, hang on.
The winner.
What happens to men when they grow old? Why do they forget everything? I believe Those two young people need each other like they need the air to breathe in. Anybody can see that by just looking at them. But you and my husband you might as well be blind men. You can only see that they have a problem.
Margot, you know I'm in love with you, don't you?
Yes.
You knew from the first, didn't you?
Yes. I am black and comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
My Bible says black but comely.
But I am black and comely. Isn't that what you want me to feel, Nathan?
Patty, come on. I need your help in the shed. Come on.
Pop, where you taking Mom?
Get back to work.
Cecil, look at me, boy. Don't you lose your temper with that man. This is world. We just living in it.
Boy, if you gonna let this little nappy-head gal sit here and cuss you out like that, you sitting at the head of your own dinner table and you acting like a waiter.
You're ugly, you're skinny, you shake funny, and you're too scared to open your mouth to people. All you fit to do is be Suge's maid. Take out a slop jar and maybe cook her food. And you ain't even that good of a cook anyway.
I got you, you mother.
What you want here?
I'll show you what I want.
Hey!
Daddy! You crazy, you bitch! I'm all the way from Chicago to got it.
And now that you got it, you get your black ass out of here.
Jax! Bring here, Daddy. Let the gentleman see how you're smishing your wife.
She ain't no wife of mine.
We's coming low. And I was coming home to Papa.
It's common nothing. Don't you papa me, girl. I'll papa you so you never forget it.
Dad. You're my father. I'm your son. I love you. I always have, and I always will. But you think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man.
She's only known me for 10 days, so she can't tell you when I'm blushing.
Hey, welcome Black, everybody. You're watching the Real Black Talking Black podcast with Charles Woods and Mike D. And we're spending time today to reflect on some of the comments that have come in from the last podcast that we did last Wednesday about the white woman, the black man's kryptonite. So we'll be going back and we've highlighted some of the comments that came in on some of the videos. And if you had a chance to see the live stream from last week, or if the conversation is engaging you after Charles makes his presentation tonight, we definitely are in the mood to take your questions and hear from you about these topics. So Charles, can I give you the floor? I mean, well, first off, congratulations. I mean, I'm really proud of what we did last week, and we definitely got a great reward in terms of viewership as a result. So, and that all comes back to you, Charles, because it's your years of research, decades of research that led to that presentation, and we shook up the world. 40,000 plus views just on that mini lecture in 1 week. So, and if you want to show your love for afford, please contribute to the Cash App or the PayPal this week so we can continue to give you more. So without further ado, Charles, what are some of your thoughts coming into this week?
Well, I just want to say, and I hope the Wi-Fi doesn't betray me, and I'm going to make this quick. We're getting comments right now. I'm looking at the comments coming in right now, but I too want to say thank you to the Real Black family. I don't know what made them tune in to that particular podcast. I do know that we get analytics. I've explained this to a number of the viewers that we get the analytics, and I do think that our greatest viewership is when the subject has more of a controversial thing to it. So I think associating the white woman with kryptonite, it caused a lot of people to tune in. And some people say they got a great kick out of the fact that we called it a Warner Brother production. And but the thing I wanted to respond to was that when I first started looking at the comments, what upset me is where I was being attacked by some people as being racist. We just don't have Black viewers as members of the Real Black family. I think that has to be understood. But I want to make 2 points. One viewer said that this was racist and that I should be ashamed of the content. Another viewer, who I would say is Black, was upset with me because in making my commentary in a previous podcast, the person said they were with me until I went off track and I started intimating what many people feel is kumbaya BS. And the viewer said, "We are a special people. We should never forget that." So I took some offense to that also. The thing that's heartening for me is when I get those viewers who will leave a comment like, "We know where Brother Woods is coming from." Some people may not want to hear what he has to say, but we know he's trying to speak truth to power, and he's not tailoring what he's saying to appease a particular group. So for those who don't know me, who haven't been following me, let me just say one thing. I've grown up. I'm a child of the 50s, 60s. But growing up, I've learned that it's not easy living in this world when people are subject to being judged by the color of their skin. And I know, because I've had a lot of dark friends, dark girlfriends. As I said, I was told not to bring any Black girlfriends into the house. I grew up with that BS. But I know that being light has helped me a great deal to gain more acceptance in the circles I was in. So when I defend and I am upset about what our darker brothers and sisters have to go through, is because that's a consciousness I have. There are many people who want to say they don't want to consider anything I have to say is legit because it's obvious I'm biracial. And it's something I don't even talk about too often from the conversations I used to have with Paul Mooney, whom many people didn't like him at all. I loved Paul. But the one thing I loved about Paul was that he was on top of his game when he spoke about what was going on in the society. And one of the things he told me with regard to skin color is that a lot of times when people who don't look black or ask, you don't look black, but what are you? And I remember I used to say when I was very young, well, I'm black, I'm colored, I'm Negro, I'm African American. Well, you don't look black. And Paul said, you know, what they're really asking is what part of you is human? And so you had a lot of blacks who, because they've internalized self-hatred in this society, they were quick to point out, well, I got Indian in me. Oh, I got some Native American or some Asian Indian in me. I'm not all black. Years ago, after they conked his head, Billy D. Williams, and they made him a sex symbol where he was called the Dark Gable, he made a comment along these lines. And nothing I'm saying right now, and I can't back up with proof. He made the comment, well, I have a lot of mongrel in me. And I took exception to that because it's just the same thing over and over again. I may be a little scattered here, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to let this particular podcast be about responding to what our viewers have been saying. Not so much about what I have to say, but how they've responded to what I have said. And how I said from the outset, when I made my discussion, I said, this is a very nuanced subject. You're not going to get all of the answers, all of the attendant issues in one setting. Seeing the white woman as kryptonite, that's only one aspect of it. Some of the viewers said, well, why they always pick on the black man? What about the black woman and how she's chasing after the white man? That's another issue. What about the legacy of slavery and how that's impacted on all of this? How is the media responsible for our self-hatred or for the divisions among us? A number of people use the Bible, and they have two perspectives when they use the Bible. In one perspective, well, it tells you in the Bible that we are not supposed to share our seed with other races. Yet that same Bible, you can go to the Bible and you find a contrary point of view where it states that in Jesus Christ there is neither Jew nor Gentile, Greek or Roman. We are all one in Christ. So I learned something a long time ago. A lot of the division that is engendered for the purposes of separating us as a people, a lot of it is easy to create because of one common factor. The one key factor that perpetuates discord, confusion among people, and that's egoism. And as someone said, when it comes to isms, you create a whole lot of schisms. But the one factor of egoism means a lot of times when we look at issues, we don't look at them objectively. We're only looking at them first from an individualistic perspective. This is the way I see it. So the question is, how you see it, how we see something as an individual. What has created that opinion? What has shaped that attitude? What's responsible for it? My look has been at film and how film as a cultural medium is used in the apparatus of the culture itself. It's been weaponized. It's been used to indoctrinate us, to program us. As someone said, social engineer us to think a certain way. And so, in many ways, we are taught to hate ourselves. I've said that all so often. This art form is teaching us to hate ourselves, to continue something that was started a long time ago. Carter G. Woodson said, you know, it's all about the misinformation that we are fed. And as I state in my book that's coming out, the information we get, I'm saying it one more time, the information we get is geared to keep us in formation. The content we get is geared to keep us content with that misinformation. It's important that we learn how to decode this BS, how to see through it. And that's going to be impossible if we don't realize that what clouds objectivity once again comes back to egoism, personal biases, cognitive dissonance, cognitive bias. There are biases on 5 basic levels. There's the explicit, the implicit, the internalized, the externalized. And then you have what is called the unconscious bias. So when people respond to defend their perspectives from the Bible, get 2 points of view from the Bible, as I pointed out. You get an attempt to take the Bible and prove Jesus was black, as opposed to those who want to use the Bible to prove Jesus was white. Hermeneutics, exegesis, linguistics, these are things I study. Semiotics, these are things I study. A lot of people, they don't, what's he trying to impress us? No, I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm trying to make it clear that my analysis and my examination, I make it with every attempt to be unbiased, to be objective, and not to prove better. If you don't like hearing that, I'm sorry, that's me. As I always say, what I attempt to show and what I attempt to say is not an attempt to sound good, but to make sure that what I say is good and sound and supported by objective empirical evidence. My thoughts are not really clear right now because in many ways I get upset often because when you read some of the commentary, one other thing I forgot to mention, a lot of black women felt insulted by some of the things that where a lot of black men were saying, yeah, we chase the white women because we don't want to have anything to do with black women. Then one person said, yeah, black women, they don't want anything to do with black men. There's this disdain, as one person said. There's this disdain for black men. You know, that remember someone said, how about the rap music? You know, didn't someone come out and say, ain't nothing going on but the rent? A lot of black men, they ain't got the means or the opportunity to take care of me. There's all of this going on.
Right.
And it's not something you're going to be able to clear up in one setting.
Well, that speaks to one of the things that you talk about, black men and black women hostility in the trailer. I mean, why do we pick those images, Charles?
For example, the first image we had was one potato, two potato. That's to reinforce the black man, white woman, they're coming together. That was backed up with the commentary from Bea Richards, who plays the mother in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where she's saying to Tracy's character, what happens to men? Do they forget what's important? When you fall in love, you fall in love, or you see as a problem. That goes to the issue of, should love know a color line? The other image we had was about people saying we should be free to love who we want to love. So I put in images from Moonlight and Color Purple to raise the question, when you say people should be free to love who they want to love, is that unconditional? Or, as some of the commentaries been, yeah, the media is pushing a homosexual agenda, an LGBT agenda. Okay? From JoJo, I put in Island in the Sun. When we did our first piece, there was an image of Harry Belafonte with Joe Fontaine. Harry Belafonte's character in that film, made in 1957. Go ahead.
Just repeat that part again. You broke up. Island in the Sun.
Island in the Sun. In this trailer here, I show Dorothy Dandridge's character involved with a white man, the black woman, white man image. But Joe Jones, to answer his question, yes, Dorothy Dandridge was allowed to have this physical contact with the white man, whereas Harry Belafonte, he had to maintain a sort of distance with Joan Fontaine. Harry Belafonte was livid when he made that film. He said they treated my black character, as if he had what we're going through now, the COVID. He said, you think kind of a cold or something. There was that separation. And what I wanted to say, in the film, the character Harry Belafonte plays, he's telling Joan Fontaine. Yeah, Dorothy's character, she can get along. They'll accept that. But me and you, oh hell no. That's not going to be as tolerated as that is. So to piggyback on what a lot of comments were about, is where, yeah, some of the brothers are saying, yeah, when we have a white girlfriend, oh, it's a big thing. But what about the black woman? That's a socialistic thing. And the whole thing is the black man, his sexuality is more feared thing in the context of white supremacy. Next, go ahead. Unmute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we have some callers, Charles. Do you want to take them? I mean, it's better if we can see your face, but Shina Speaks has been on here for a minute. So I'm going to add you now. I can't see you, but we're going to listen to what you have to say. Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Real Black Talking Black podcast. Shina Speaks. Am I saying it right?
Yes, you are. Hello, Real Black family. I've been following this channel for a very long time. I watch your old movies, and I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what you guys are speaking on tonight. I want to say thank you for being black men, bringing wisdom onto these YouTube streets. I was born in the 70s, and you don't hear too many people bringing positive things out here or teaching us knowledge. They want us to be programmed by the media. So when I see channels like you guys, I tune in. And to be honest, this is my first time really speaking in the chat because your chat be moving. But I want to comment. I want to say hello to you, Mike, and hello, Mr. Woods, and hello, chat. But when you were speaking about the black woman with the black man and the black man dating white women, I have experienced, I really didn't want to make it about me, but I want to share something. I just want to give a testimony to people because we live in a world that is very crooked and very evil. And when Mr. Woods say that the media is pushing out this agenda about homosexual and with Lil Nas and the dress and things like that, you have to be concerned about the generations coming up and what the knowledge is that they're trying to push into our next generations. So they're promoting this homosexual thing everywhere you look. It's biracial couples. You pretty much are not seeing too many black families out here. And when I say black families, is woman, a black man, and a black woman. It's, they're getting rid of that in front of our eyes, and people is not realizing that. I study generational curses, and I was married to a black man for a very long time. And, I'm not being racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body, but he was attracted to white women. And it wasn't the point that he didn't want me anymore. It was the point that these women were coming on to him. He, had a good job, good career, nice looking man, but he wanted to keep his family together. Now, if I was willing to stay in that situation, he probably would have had me and the woman, but I let him go on and have her because it was bringing me down, my self-esteem down as a black woman. I was feeling lower than what I was because I did my best as his wife. He was making me feel like I was bad for being a black woman. And it's still to this day, even though recently I'm dealing with this, 2 years recently, I blame myself for him dating a white woman. And I had to go deep down in deep down inside and say, I can't be prejudiced towards biracial couples. I can't be prejudiced towards white women or a black man that likes white women, because this is what society is showing us. If you look at the new movies out, or if you look at like the commercials, they're promoting biracial relationships, biracial children. You don't see too many black families on, TV shows. And as I learned not to take this personally, and having African American children, I have 2 African American sons and a daughter. I have to know to teach them the wisdom of what's going on in the world today, for they can be prepared. Yes, they're young adults, but if we don't pass the knowledge to these young adults, they will never know, because what the media is pushing on YouTube, on the big screens, it's okay to wear a dress and have a baby. It's okay to disgrade a black woman. It's okay not to hear about your roots. Eventually they'll probably try to take all the books away from us, where we won't be able to study our history. So we need channels like yours to pass that knowledge to us. So I wanted to tell Mr. Woods, please don't take that personal. I was in the bushes on y'all last broadcast, and it wasn't racial at all. You were speaking a lot of facts when you said that. I didn't come out and say anything, but I appreciate you speaking up on that. And when I heard you speaking tonight, I said, I don't want this man to feel like he was wrong, because we need this knowledge pushed out here. We need this knowledge because you never know who's watching. I shared this video with a couple of my people, and I wanted them to tune in to this channel to see 2 black men speaking on knowledge in this world. And I thank both of you guys. I truly do. And I want to, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, that's my big beef with what's going on now. I mean, Charles will tell you that black film comes in cycles and it's always reactionary. It's not proactive. So what we're seeing now in this current wave is a reaction to a lot of the protests, the Oscars so white and the Me Too movement and everything. But, what happens as, if you see, there's a Woody King clip, Woody King Jr., he's the head of the New Federal Theater in New York. And he says, whenever these opportunities open up for more representation, the pie never gets bigger, so his theater company, which is an all-black theater company in New York, suffered as more diversity came in. It's sort of like so I think what we're seeing is, you could take it as an attack on the black family or whatever, but it's just, to me, it's just a reflection of the nature of white supremacy, in the sense that white people have the freedom to tell any story they want and it will be accepted. When black people have the opportunity to tell a story, we have to involve every other culture and representative group in our stories, because we are there to reflect diversity and alleviate white guilt. So that to me is problematic. And I don't know if we solve that problem unless we have our own, so I really appreciate the love that you've given us tonight. And it just speaks volumes to the number of people that are in the room now watching the live podcast, and the number of people that will continue to watch this as it stays online, so, but again, thank you for sharing last week's video, sharing all the clips with Professor Woods, the Professor Charles Woods, because I think it is important to put information out there to counteract a lot of the things that are already in motion. Does that make sense?
I just want to say thank you, Shannon. Oh,
yeah, Shauna's on mute.
I appreciate you.
Okay,
Can she hear me?
She's still in the stream, but she's on mute. So if you just want to address her points. and then we can
Yeah,
move
so
on
I just want
to
to
Lashida.
I just want to say that what she said meant a lot to me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Shauna. So, Lashida, are you ready? Welcome to Real Black Talking Black.
Hi, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
I've been watching your channel for years.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I'm nervous and speaking, but you might be familiar with my channel. I've been in social media for since 2001. It's been 20 years now, and I've been in YouTube since 2008. And I know, when we consider media and you think medium, and I have definitely witnessed how, just from what I'm seeing going on and with the divisiveness, um, the whole gender warring and everything in YouTube alone. But yeah, I just want to talk about this idea that you can't help who you fall in love with, and I think that is one of the that is something I totally, totally disagree with. The idea that that love is blind and you can't help who you fall in love with. I think that is, and you could see, and I had said that this would happen. You could see what's being pushed more and more. Yeah, excuse me. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm kind of tired. Last time I was dying to come up in here and talk, but I just came up in here kind of late. But yeah, I see also that there's some people who are going to be trying to gaslight. And well, I'm just going to say this and then I'll leave. Okay, it's great that you're being open and talking like this. There is nothing wrong with some separation, being exclusive. I'm not for segregation, but separation, differentiation. There is nothing wrong with that, with being exclusive to a degree. Okay, that does not mean that you are well, oh goodness, why am I nervous? I've been in
Well, take your time. Let me address your first point because I kind of agree with you. I think my intention, as an artist, is to counteract a lot of the BS that has been fed us in the past. It's not necessarily, I know why certain things sell, and I try not to be for sale, but I think that what you're saying, what I'm getting from you is on time. We don't get media directed to us as representative of healing our community. And is that one of the things that you're kind of alluding to?
Yeah, and I don't know why I've been in YouTube so long, but all of a sudden now I'm nervous. I feel as if I'm talking with Paul Mooney. I don't know. I have such a great respect for you and your
Read the
channel.
book.
And the brother here, and the brother here who's speaking, I hadn't really heard of him before these more recent interviews. But yeah, and last time I had wanted to get on the panel, I was ready to speak last time. But and I just wanted to point out, because I was listening to a stream with there are some females. They refer to themselves as divestors, like they're divesting away from the Black community, and I was listening to a brother, and he was speaking on interracial relationships between Black men and white women today, as if this was a sign of progression. And he was mentioning how in the past, you had brothers like, Emmett Till. He was using that as an example, and as if he sees interracial relationships as progression. And I kind of think about that because I have a kind of love-hate thing with blaxploitation flicks. Lennon Honor had once said, in one of his documentaries, that he believed it's like one of the precursors to gangster rap. But I love Rudy Ray Moore films. I definitely love Clarence Williams, even though he wouldn't necessarily put himself in the category, his films in the category of blaxploitation. But I definitely, did I say Clarence Williams? Melvin Van Peebles, Clarence Williams.
Right.
But yeah, but one thing
it is a precursor. It is a precursor. A lot of even Biggie Smalls takes its name from Black cinema. Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls is a character in Uptown Saturday Night. There's no way. The Mac You know, all those movies are precursors, and it just is a reflection of the media that sticks. You know, so the dilemma is, you know, had we gotten some of the great black plays that were made at the same time as the black exploitation cinema translated into film, how much of an impact would that have made on the music and the culture that we are digesting today?
Right, right. And yeah, I had pointed out how it's interesting because you think of the films. I noticed how there's I had talked about in one of my videos how there's a reason why white women are always victims in films. If you remember when Paul Mooney had talked about this in one of his stand-ups, saying that cinema seem to hate white women and black men because you always see white women getting killed in films. But I think that goes back to like when you think of Birth of a Nation. If you've noticed, there have been these films where, okay, there's always some monster trying to get a white woman. Okay, the creature from the Black Lagoon, the fly. There's always some creature or some monster trying to get white women. And a lot of people don't know that the quote, I believe I was told that the quote, to protect our women and children, that originated with the KKK. Now, I may be wrong, but I remember once learning that quote, to protect our women and children, that kind of originated with the KKK. So these films, they have been used showing white women as vulnerable, as if somebody's always going to try and get them. Some creature, some monster, King Kong, the fly, creature from the Black Lagoon. There's always something trying to keep white races on their toes, to show that women is always being vulnerable. Someone's always trying to get them. And so I wanted to listen more to what the brother was saying, but I know he was talking to the divestors, these black females who are part of the squirrel community and all that. And I wanted to hear more of what he was saying, but I know that they was ready to attack him. And I understand what that was about. But I just wanted to, like, is it a thing? Like, I was trying to get an understanding with the black exploitation, because I don't see, at least the brothers back then, as necessarily having a hatred for black women, but it being about something deeper. Not saying that I agree with it, like in the case of Eldridge Cleaver, but like seeing this as some sign of progression, like with Sweetback, for instance. I'm not I'm not seen or shown as a rapist. I'm shown as an object of desire or something to be desired.
Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, I think Charles can speak to one of our upcoming mini lectures. Just if you want to give her, if you want to give Lashid for you a taste of our black romance thing. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's helpful or healthy to look at black exploitation as a complete monolithic cinema. A lot of it was designed to exploit the naked bodies and violence and all that stuff. But within that same period of time, there were lots of movies that exist that you may or may not be aware of that show healthy black male, black female relationships, and that's something that we're going to zero in on in the future. But can Charles, can you just give a taste and thanks for joining the conversation.
Thanks so much. I'm so sorry. I'm nervous. I don't know how that is, being that I've been in YouTube so long, but
and that's the name of your channel. I'll make sure I subscribe.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So Charles, take it away. The black.
Well, I just want to say, I told you what I wanted to do, and for the longest, I wanted to do a piece that would be your bailiwick, the thing that you wanted to do as a filmmaker to counter mainstream messages. And so I told you, let's do this thing where we're going to celebrate black love, something that the media has always refrained from doing. And I want that piece to be something that a lot of people tune in to watch, because I think a lot of things that trigger the viewership is if there's something controversial in the title or the thumbnail. But the piece we're going to work on is a celebration of Black love. And to the point of something that was raised by this caller, and thank you for calling in, Miriam C. Cooper, who was the producer of King Kong, he had his own 3Ds, which goes to the whole thing about the dark monsters, and after the prized white female, he said he wanted to make his monsters, and they said when I looked at it, it was its own 3D effect. He wanted to make the monster distant, dangerous, and dark. And that's what King Kong was.
Wow. Oh, by the way, 21 Rules of Blackness is doing a Candyman review for us. So that's the latest black horror movie. It's out now. So look for that. But I don't know. So going back to the trailer, I know we had stopped at Great White Hope, was it?
Yeah, Great White, which goes to a visual that was my attempt to piggyback on the commentary where there's this friction, this age-old friction that exists between Black men and Black women. And so, you know, the popular image of the Black woman in the media is that she's either a mammy or a mama. You know, she's a Sapphire, Jezebel, or, you know, at one time they wanted to erect a statue out of the love for Mammy, you know, the Black Mammy. And this whole thing, when we had filmed The Help, a lot of people said, you know, come on. What Black women had to go through as domestics, a lot of what was left out is how they were abused sexually by the people who own the houses they had to clean. All right. Mm-hmm. And that's a fact. But the thing is, I wanted to show that scene from The Great White Hope, and also what else we showed for Color Purple, the scene at the dinner table where Whoopi's character, Celie, is being abused by Glover's character, you know, and like the guy said, you're going to take this from this nappy-headed woman, you know, nappy, Black. And as Paul Mooney used to say, they ain't happy when their hair is nappy. But the whole thing is, I want to show that conflict. That's something that's popularized in the media, where they always want to show this conflict between Black men and Black women. And that too started in Birth of a Nation, where you had the mammy. There's a scene where she kicks the Black servant to the Yankee, squaring his ass. It's come up, and we had a period in films where a lot of the films that were made, Black men were upset because they were all about Black male bashing. Color Purple. When Color Purple came out in '85, Danny Glover took a lot of heat for playing that. And his subsequent films, I told you, what did you notice? You just brought up the fact that I said film, the images we see of us is reactionary. So one of the reasons to the heat Danny took when he did Lethal Weapon, what did make him?
A family man.
A loving family man. They even had if you go back and look in the archives of Jet, he's on the cover of Jet, and his family was defending him. Oh, he's nothing like the image
Mr.
The character he portrayed in The Color Purple.
Mr. in The Color Purple.
And yeah,
No, I mean
the
that's a good
last.
point. Well, wait,
Go
but I
ahead.
skipped. I skipped Slaves and Lee Daniels the Butler.
The Lee Daniels the Butler part we have on the black male emasculation.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, that's first and foremost what they want to do with the black man's image in this context of white supremacy. Sidney Poitier, for a long time, they used to refer to him as the ebony eunuch. They made him so noble. And in my lexicon of trigonology, my trigonology lexicon, Noble spells noble, but in my lexicon, it's No-Bull. Noble. They wanted to de-sex him. So the emasculation part is just look at that scene in The Butler where the white man comes and takes the black man's wife to have sexual relations with her. And the little black son he's saying, "What's going on, Pop?" And what is the black man telling his son? Calm yourself, brother. Be cool. This is his world, the white man's world. You'll only get yourself killed if you try to fight against it. That's black emasculation. Let me make one quick point.
Mm-hmm.
There's a film, if I may.
Yeah, you're fine. You're breaking up a little bit.
There's a film.
Just go slow.
Okay. There's a film, The Liberation of L.B. Jones, with Roscoe Brown, 1970. That was based on a true story. That film, when it was released, they had to pull it out of the theaters, some of the theaters, because black men were ready to blow up the theaters. At subsequent showings of the film, they used to have Yaphet Kotto come around and do a little talk, trying to appease the audience, calm them down. But what was so upsetting in that film was where you had a white sheriff would come into the home of a black man to have sex with the black man's wife, and the black man was present. They made an attempt to kind of give the black man or the black audience some sense of catharsis, where they had Yaphet Kotto's character kill a white law officer. But when I met Roscoe Lee Brown some years and years ago, I gave him a photo to sign. It just so happened was a photo from that film. When I got home to read what he wrote, he said something to the effect, "Thank you." Guess what he signed? He didn't sign his name. He signed, "Yours truly, L.B. Jones." He was too ashamed to sign his own name.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way about The Butler years later. I know some people said it was a good movie. I said when I was on the radio, I said I know this movie's called Lee Daniels the Butler, but if it was called Mike D's the Butler, the movie would have been 15 minutes long, because after that kid saw his father shot by the white overseer and was invited into the house to serve, I would have had him poison everybody in the family and leave town. That would have been the ending of my movie. But it's not, again, representation or justice is the question. So I pose that to you, Charles. I mean, in terms of these films that we're talking about, if the objective is healing, what kind of images would you like to see in American film, in global cinema, to address some of the problems that you've identified as such within the Black community, without necessarily being preachy? What kind of stories do we need more of?
Well, I think it's interesting you asked this question because we just lost Melvin Van Peebles. And I told you I did not like Sweetback's Badass Song. I did not like the film. But I applaud what Melvin Van Peebles was attempting to do. I think it was overrated as a revolutionary film because of some of the images in it. I just feel what made it such a financial success, and I'm being honest here, what made it such a financial success is that it showed a lot of Black women's bodies. And they've been exploiting the Black woman's body for years. The Trader Horn films, Trader Horn, 1931. The same director, W.S. Dyke, did in 1932, Tarzan the Ape Man. One of the ways they used to get over censorship when they want to show nudity, they didn't mind putting Black Native women with their breasts exposed in these films. That was just to promote the image of the Black woman as an exhibitionist, a loose exotic. So some of these films later on, to me, it's just a reiteration of the things that were introduced earlier that I felt were negative and stereotypical. They just did it later on. And we had the Black sexuality in the Blaxploitation films. Now, I don't want to contradict myself, but I often say there was a certain pleasure as someone who grew up not seeing a tough Black man, a kick-ass Black man in motion pictures, and beautiful Black women that was shown in the Blaxploitation films, the Judy Paces, what's the name? Oh God. You had Judy Pace, Lola Falana, the darky hued actresses. I'm trying to think of the actress who played in the Black Caesar movies.
Okay, I was gonna go with Cleopatra Jones, but
Gloria Hendry.
Gloria Hendry. Oh, we get your point.
Gloria Hendry. You hear me?
Tamara Dobson. My brain is still working.
No,
Tamara Dobson.
Tamara Dobson. Gloria Hendry is who's. I was trying to think of Gloria Hendry, who had the short cropped hairdo, and she also was in the James Bond film. But the thing is that darkness was popular in the Blaxploitation film, so that was great to see. It was great because it was countercultural. And the thing is, in the Blaxploitation films, to Eldridge Cleaver's point, the Black hero, he had his main squeeze, who was Black, but then he had the so-called status symbol, the white girl on the side. Take Shaft, Slaughter, Slaughter's ripoff. So that's what was happening there. It was sort of like as I said before, one of the components of blaxploitation was that in the retribution component, the revenge component, one of the things that made the black man more macho was this sexuality that was enhanced by the fact that he was pulling these white girls.
Right. So what kind of cinema do we need more of?
And I'm sorry, I got off, but to answer your question, the cinema we need cinema that addresses who we are, and it's about our glory, a celebration of our glory from the past to the present. We need cinema that shows that we are a race of people, and in a race, we are no less significant than anyone else. I don't believe in replacing white BS with black BS, but I do feel we need to establish an alternative cinema that is about the celebration of us. It's about feeding us authenticity, our true identity. But it's not going to happen unless we have two things working concurrently. That's that we have conscious filmmakers involved in the production, and we have a conscious audience willing to support images.
Well, amen to that. We had a call, but they disappeared. I think we'll let it go another minute or two before we wind things up. You can join the conversation if you have one last question or comment for Mr. Woods. Otherwise, I just want to let people know that really exciting news this week, besides the R. Kelly, is that Sankofa, Haile Garima's classic, was a 1993, 91, 92, 93 movie, is finally been restored in 4K, and it can be streamed on Netflix. It's for the next 3 years. It'll be available on Netflix. And I'm prayerful that Criterion Collection jumps on that one. They've been doing a pretty good job this year. Every month there's been a new black film release on this Criterion Collection Blu-ray and 4K catalog. This month it's Love and Basketball. Next month it's going to be the 4 films of Melvin Van Peebles' essential work. But if you have Netflix, I highly recommend, no pun intended, that you check out Sankofa. So, thanks, Charles, and thank you. We've got some PayPal in here. Cash App, Dwayne Simon. Thank you for your donation. It helps us keep the channel going. Whenever we get a donation, it goes to making more videos and taking care of the maintenance of the channel. So please, if you can, please send some Cash App or PayPal funds, and we'll send you a link to see Charles's work in progress film, Savages, Servants, and Specialty Acts, as a thank you. So, any final thoughts? Did we finish going through the trailer? There's a reposting. There's 2 clips from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So there's one at the beginning and there's one at the end in that trailer piece.
Yeah, the end piece was Sidney Poitier, his character saying to his father, "You think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man." And what's significant to me about this, when I revisited that scene, And I know what Stanley Kramer and Sidney Poitier were attempting to do with this film. And Stanley Kramer and Sidney were both aware of the taboos that surrounded what was called the pairing of a black couple, in particular a black man with a white woman. And they wanted to stay away from the taboos. The thing is, it brought to my mind, is what he told his father, is it realistic? Can we go through this world and not be made conscious that we are people of color? Isn't that what the context of white supremacy is all about? The reaction to our color? So you saying you think of yourself as a colored man, how can he think? He's being bombarded with the idea that he's colored. He's being reminded every day of his life that he's colored. Maybe he, whatever job he wanted to do, maybe he didn't advance as a mailman. He had to struggle. But the thing is, they're showing Sidney's character as some super spade doctor. Nobel Peace Prize, I believe he was the recipient of that. Noted. He's got this young white girl. But one thing the critics pointed out is that after this marriage to this young white girl, interestingly enough, the actress who was the niece of Katharine Hepburn, I don't think she did too many films after that. She was for that part. They didn't have an actress whose career would be hurt by that part. But the thing is, the character, after he would marry the white woman, they were not going to stay in America. They were going to leave America.
Geneva. Yeah, Geneva, Switzerland. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bomani came in the room and left. I think they needed to leave and reconnect their device. But we have one caller here, D. Mosley. Do you want to take him, Charles?
Yes, because
okay,
as I tell you, it's about the viewers.
Okay, and if Bomani is still watching, I think you need to leave and come back and connect your device before you come into the room. That's the trick. But here's D. Mosley. Welcome to
Hello?
Real Black Talking Black. Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing fine, and you?
We're just here chilling. How and are you enjoying the live stream?
Yes, I am. I really enjoyed the information that you put out on film and whatnot. One of the my favorite programs was when you broke down about blaxploitation in Hollywood and how it was a negative, and it wasn't the opportunities that could have been had from it weren't really realized. And from that, I watched Claudia, and I thought, wow, this is a really great film.
Absolutely. Claudine's a classic.
Claudine, yes, Claudine. And so now I made a comparison about how now today we're seeing with the age of streaming, there's a lot of focus on these streaming services to put out content about Black historical figures. And you talked about how back in the 60s they used blaxploitation to save Hollywood then. And I kind of compared it that maybe I wanted to see if that's what's happening nowadays, to see if they can make enough content to be able to compete with other people. And so I thought that was a pretty interesting effect.
Well, they know it's a global market now, so they're making up for lost time. So we're getting a lot of stories, and what tends to happen in terms of the reactionary process is that there's for decades there's like, why don't we get this story? Why don't we get this story? This is our history. Why can't we tell these stories? So now we're getting C.J. Walker and we're getting Harriet Tubman, and we're getting, how many Muhammad Ali movies can they make? There's a new documentary out now, so I think they're making up for lost time. I mean, are you liking the depictions? Because it always comes with some level of criticism.
There's a few that I've watched and I like. I watched the Madam C.J. Walker one. I watched the Malcolm X one, and while I do like some of the ones that I've seen, there's always some kind of slant that I've seen that's in those films and shows, where it's like with Madam C.J. Walker, they showed the conflict between her and her husband, which wasn't really there, or to that magnitude that they portrayed on the film, or how they portrayed Booker T. Washington was very negative. Another one was with how they portrayed people in Miami and One Night in Miami. I didn't like that portrayal very much of how they showed Malcolm X as being manipulative, or they showed Sam Cooke as being spineless or whatnot. But and another one, what was it? Anyways, there's a few of them that I just think that they're adding different things that don't need to be in there, and as to fit an agenda, like with Harriet Tubman too. They showed her being abused by a black person that didn't even exist in history, but they showed a white plantation owner saving her.
Very insightful. Very insightful. Well, Charles, I mean, that opens up the door for circumscribed historicity, if you want to talk about that. Well, thanks, D. Mosley, for your comment. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
Circumscribed historicity.
Yeah, D. Mosley is a young man, but the thing is this: a lot of what he raises goes to the issue of the so-called subject for tonight, which I kind of got off tangent. But the thing is, does film reflect society? And the conclusion I'm coming to, and I'm trying to support it, I feel that what we get in motion pictures, and it's a strong film, it's a strong, it's not authentic, and it's a misrepresentation of what's happening in society. In other words, what's being reflected on film, it's skewed. The misrepresentation is intentional. It has this addition of, when it comes to black characters, they bring in this sense of where they're making the black character flawed individuals. They're raising issues. A lot of it is manufactured. It's contrived. And so what I circumscribe is that we get black characters where they can always show a weakness on our so-called heroes' part. There's a way to nullify or devalue them, to diminish their true greatness. It's tricky, and that's the technology where you have to see it. So as D. Mosley said, I notice a certain slant. They're adding things I don't think were there historically. That's why it's important when I say, when they make these films, what I call the boats, BOATS, based on a true story, it's important that you go into the history by reliable sources to find out what really happened, REALLY, and not be misled by what they're saying really happened, REELY. That's my quest. That's what my historical research is trying to uncover, the technology, and why is it there, propaganda. It's by design. It's purposed. It's intentional. It's a scheme. Why is it there?
Well, Bomani came back. I don't see a screen. We can try it. I don't think the screen is there, but I'm gonna click it and see what happens. Hey, Bomani.
Greetings. Can I be heard?
I can hear you. Yes, it's black screen, but go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm
Welcome
having all
welcome
kind of.
to Talking Black.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having all kind of technical issues.
No
But
worries.
greetings to Mr. Woods as well. I have followed you on the cows, the context of white supremacy, as
And
well as
Charles,
the
you think
channel.
yes?
Yeah, as well as the channel. Great channel.
Thank you.
I'm on here quite often. I had a question though. Maybe about a year and a half ago, I watched The Exorcist again with a friend of mine from Africa. She had never seen it, and she was interested in seeing The Exorcist. So I said, okay, fine, let's watch it. And so we watched The Exorcist, and because I'm older now, I saw some things that I had never seen before. I'm wondering, had you ever seen The Exorcist?
Years ago. I mean, most recently, maybe 7 years ago. But
Okay,
yes,
Mr. Woods, have
answer
you
your
seen
question.
it?
Yes.
Okay, so in the
The
film,
first one?
the first one.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
Okay. Well, you remember then that there was a lot of, I guess, anxiety and hysteria around the film. People having to walk out the movie and vomit and all kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I watched the movie this last time, though, I saw something that I hadn't seen before, and that is the demon Pazuzu represents a black man. He has a long penis, and they only flash to Pazuzu real quick, like it's just a split second, you know. And
This
so
is this is in the opening segments when
this,
they're
I think it's
first
in the
in.
opening segments. They just
Mhm.
show Pazuzu for a split second. So I had to Google him because I said, wait a minute, they flashed that too fast. And I said, okay, well, if Pazuzu is representing a black man, and then you see the bedroom, they have the bedposts look like giant penises. They're wrapped with not pillows but sheets and ropes. But I mean there's four bedposts. They look like giant penises. The father is nowhere at all to be found in the film at all. And I'm going, wow, this movie seems like it's depicting a black man raping a white female.
Okay, it's one interpretation.
And
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking the question.
Okay, Charles, what are your thoughts? Thank you for that, Bomani.
No problem. I'll mute my line.
what is a lot of times? Thank you. What happens a lot of times in film, and this is a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times film, the messaging by the authors is there are certain things they put into the film that's subliminal, that's subtle. So you have the phallus symbols, and one of the questions was, what is the symbol of the apple that the Lula character was eating? And the apple symbolized the fall of man, temptation, which led to the fall of man. It goes back to, as I told one viewer, in the biblical story about the Garden of Eden. So with the post, it's a reemphasis on the imagery they want to show of the phallus. They had other films where the white women, because for the most part you had white women as stars, and going back to what was raised in the earlier conversation, where you always had in the creature from the Black Lagoon, King Kong, the white woman being the pursued subject of the monster, of the beast. So the same thing is happening with The Exorcist. We have this beast, and he's going to take possession of this white girl. So it's sexual. It's there. It was more pronounced in a film that got shut down because the makers of The Exorcist said it was plagiarism. And that's the blaxploitation film, Abby.
Abby, which is on the channel.
Yeah. So I would say yes, that inference is there, no doubt. But often we have to be careful not to read out of something what we unconsciously read into something. Right. That's where research comes from, objective research.
Well, it definitely makes me want to go see The Exorcist again, for sure, Bomani. So appreciate that insight.
Well, not only that, he brings up The Exorcist. So you often hear me say how much my research is fueled by the insight of our viewers. Someone mentioned Spartacus. So I'm going to take a look at that again, because there is a scene where Woody Strode's body is looked at in a unique racial way. And Woody, he told people when he made the film Spartacus, he had to position himself in a certain way not to look bigger than Kirk Douglas's character, whom he had to fight with. That's all about, that's an issue right there too. Same thing with Demetrius in The Gladiators, William Marshall. That's around 1952. William Marshall's character was a bad brother. I'm going to do a thing on that.
Well, bad
but
brothers.
As bad as he was, yeah, as bad as William Marshall was, he still couldn't defeat the white characters. You know, the white character would come out on top. That was played by the guy who played of all people. He played Hannibal and he played Samson.
Okay.
This old, but there's so many things going on, and interesting. People say, well, they think I'm just lost in studying old film, but it's to what we see today. It has a lot to do with film, real, impacting on the real.
People are saying Victor Mature. Is that
Victor
helping
Mature.
you out? That's helping you out.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. We'll see. Each one teach one. So again, we had a very fantastic
I say it all the time. Yeah.
live stream. I think next week we'll probably do a pre-record because I'll be on the road, and we need to get some bumps knocked out on this technical stuff. So, but we will be back next Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central. Really, I had fun tonight. Charles, don't take it personal. I mean, we got a lot of great comments, hundreds of comments. And most of them were very complimentary to your analysis. So thank you for being who you are and for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us.
I appreciate that. And I just want to say, I'm not afraid of people disagreeing with me. All I ask for is respect. Let's learn together. Let's come together and reason. That's all right. Some people they get very insulting, but I know who I am. And but the thing I want to say is, for the most part, the support to what I'm attempting to do, thanks to the platform you've given me, Mike, the support I've gotten back. I say this from the heart. I love you, Real Black family, and thank you. I appreciate it. Peace and blessings.
Okay. All right. So that's it for the Talking Black podcast this week. Thanks for tuning in and watching and hanging out with us for the last hour and 40 minutes. And, so if you missed any of it, the replay will be up almost immediately. Feel free to comment, continue to comment in the chat, as well as in the regular comments. Any likes and thumbs up just helps spread the word more. The more comments, the more thumbs up we get, the more people will get this information in their feed. And again, the intention is to provide a counterbalance to the information and the content as we spoke of earlier. There's so much negativity and negative comments in the YouTube sphere among Black folks. We just try to keep this a safe, positive space. Shout out to Karen and for Cosmo Energy for helping out on tonight's podcast. And we will see you again next week. Peace and blessings. Thanks again, family. Love you all.